I want to talk about one of the biggest problems that I hear people have when it comes to drawing. And then I want to show you an easy solution that anybody can do. A lot of times when we sit down to make art, our ambitions are way bigger than our skills. In other words, we can imagine really cool things, but we just don't really know how to make them. And that's true more than ever when you try to draw human beings. I hear from a lot of people who want to make a comic or a graphic novel or an illustrated story, and they just don't know how to draw people well enough to do it. Or at least that's what they think. I want to reorient your thinking so that you don't feel like you can't even start to work on the kind of project that you really want to work on, unless you've acquired some really sophisticated skills. The fact is, drawing people is difficult, and we're extremely harsh in our judgments of drawings of people, particularly when they're people who we recognize, because there's such subtlety in capturing a likeness, and the slightest miscalculation completely throws the likeness out the window. If the eyes are too far apart or the nose is the wrong angle, it just doesn't look like the person that you're trying to draw. But I don't think that has to stop you. What you need to do, rather than focus all of your attention on perfecting your portrait skills, is to come up with a language that you're comfortable with to represent people. And it can be really basic. I draw people in lots of different ways. I can occasionally draw very accurate portraits with a lot of detail and tone and cross-hatching. And I can also do drawings that basically look like the person, but miss the mark a bit. And people look at them and they say, is that supposed to be so-and-so? Which is one of the most cringy things that somebody can say to you. But a lot of times I want to tell a visual story, and I might want to do, say, a page in my illustrated journal where I tell an anecdote about something that happened in my family or with some friends. And I just want to have a quick shorthand way of representing myself and the various other characters in my world. It doesn't have to be a perfect drawing. It doesn't have to be a perfect likeness. It doesn't have to be a photograph. So I came up with a style, a way of doing this. Now, if you're looking at these drawings and you go, I want to draw people better than that, then maybe you should sign up for a whole course on drawing people. And actually, by coincidence, I have one to recommend to you. It's called People Drawing People, and you can sign up for it at sketchbookschool.com. And you'll learn from a half a dozen different artists in an intensive 6-week course that has taught thousands of people to draw people. If that sounds interesting, I'll drop a link and a 15% discount coupon for you in the description below. But if you want to learn a quick and easy technique for drawing people, shorthand, well, let's get back to the topic at hand. Here's some examples of this approach that I'm talking about, this shorthand approach. Here's how I would draw myself. And here's how I might draw my son. So having this visual vocabulary, this set of icons of shorthand, they represent this person. And that means that I can draw them doing different things. You know who they are. You know what they're doing without my having to really worry about anatomy and likeness. There's a technique that I think is really useful that I picked up from Linda Barry's book on making comics, which she borrowed in turn from a cartoonist named Ivan Bernetti. And Linda points out that it's different. This technique is different than just drawing some stick figure, because stick figures are really limited what they can do. They don't really have emotion. They're completely, basically one-dimensional. And it's also a variation of how kids draw people. So let me take you through some of the basic steps that you might take. You draw a circle or an oval to represent the big head of the character. You want a big head because that way you can really see the expressions and the features. it tells the story. And then you draw a body shape, which is basically a rectangle or maybe a bit of an oval. And then you draw kind of noodle arms and legs. So noodle arms are a bit better than just drawing a straight line because they have a bit of thickness to them so that you can, again, you can give them some tone, you can give them some pants, you can give them some stockings, and then you can give them some simple shoes. And then you come up with a costume that each character in your family would wear. Like, I like to always draw myself wearing a striped t-shirt, but you might want to draw your spouse always wearing a baseball cap or always wearing a mini skirt or whatever it is that's consistent. You think about Donald Duck always wearing a sailor suit, or Mickey Mouse always wearing whatever it was that he wore, shorts with suspenders. So anyway, so then you can go and immediately from the clothing or the hairstyle or the glasses, I know who that is immediately. It's shorthand. And then you add on whatever features and other character props might help you to know that it's the person you want it to look like. So it might be their glasses, it might be their hair. And again, when it comes to their facial features, it can be pretty simple. Here's a bunch of different ways of drawing a face, drawing the features of a face. It might be eyes that have dots in the middle of them. It might be a nose that's a triangle, a nose that's a square, a straight line for a mouth. You might connect the eyes to the nose to the mouth. And if you look at the way a lot of cartoonists draw figures and draw faces, there's basically a bunch of things that you can borrow from them, bits of vocabulary. Like I like to draw some characters. If you draw an oval head that's sideways, it could be great for a kid, whereas if it's vertical, it becomes more of an adult look. Just play around with those things and you'll start to see, oh yeah, this person basically is more angular, so therefore I'm going to drawing it this way. Or this person has big eyes, so I'll draw them with oversized eyes. Or they have a big kind of pickle nose. But sometimes you might want to draw a nose that doesn't even have anything to do with what they really look like in real life, but it's kind of funny, and it again helps you to know them shorthand. And then you can take this character and you could change their clothes, or you could turn them into any kind of character you want to. Like here's a bunch of examples. Like here I turned this little thing of me into an astronaut, or into Batman, or into a pineapple. You can play around with the character and just dress it up. So when you have this kind of character, you can just tell a story. Because remember, people are far more interested in stories than they are in technical accomplishments and perfect likenesses. So if you can create a character and you can tell a story, maybe in a little cartoon or a little illustrated book, or even just in a letter, if you can tell a story with recognizable characters, it'll be delightful. But if you just do a reasonably good likeness and the person is just sort of sitting there not doing anything, well, that'll be reasonably delightful, but it'll take me a lot more work and it doesn't tell a story. I think learning this skill is time well spent to get comfortable and familiar with your version of this shorthand. You probably did something like this when you were in high school, right? You probably had a graphic language that you used to draw in the margins of your notebooks. You probably had a way of drawing people, a way of drawing cats, let's say. And it's perfectly fine to keep doing a lot of your drawing that way. Because if you want to tell a story, if you want to make a little illustrated diary of your day, if you want to just capture a moment, a conversation, it's great to have this sort of iconography, this kind of skill at your fingertips. If you're afraid of drawing, if you're afraid of, it's not going to look perfect, and you never draw at all, you never start your project, what a shame that is. But having this tool, this fast and easy, quick start technique is really helpful. If you want to occasionally slow down and really study and make a very accurate portrait, sure, go ahead. But I think that you'll find that being able to draw people quickly like this is far more useful and far more fun than anything else. Give it a shot and put your people to work in your stories. Have fun.